On a green hillside, a pale patch of exposed soil draws animals from far beyond the frame. Young gazelles inch out from the herd into open grass, pulled by curiosity and pushed by adults who cannot protect them forever.
Look, Daisy! Up there, do you see him?
Yes, Nick, he looks exactly as I remember.
Each fresh molehill is waste soil from a tunnel below, but on the surface it serves as a ready-made height advantage. Eastern moles, cottontail rabbits.
On a windy day, alarm will break and scatter before they reach their intended audience.
Swallows stitch rapid, invisible lines through the air above the grass, using cattle as moving landmarks.
Beneath the same green field, European rabbits and Hereford cattle occupy different levels of the landscape.
On some slopes, domestic sheep and wild deer feed on the same hillside, separated only by preference for slightly different heights of grass.
A bare patch of soil holds a buried memory of the meadow that once covered it. When conditions change,
Scars along the neck and flank of a stallion record decisions made in moments of violent contact. Straight roads slice through grasslands that once held only curved game trails and rivers. Antelopes pause at the tarmac edge before crossing.
before dawn, dew gathers along each blade of grass, sheathing the plain in a thin skin of water.
When cameras and crews depart, the grasslands do not fall silent.
From a single dew-covered blade to an entire horizon of green, the grasslands are woven from countless...
Patrol 1 to base, confirming the migration path is clear. Lions are stationary. Over!
Between clover stems, ants have worn invisible lanes into the soil, each worker carrying fragments of the meadow.
Kestrels hang almost motionless in the wind. As dawn spills over the rolling steppe, the first light catches the curved noses.
Eurasian pygmy shrews are almost constantly hungry, and the richest larder they know lies in the narrow spaces between roots.
Young Highland calves learn the shape of their pasture by watching the older Highland cows ahead of them.
Where Eurasian beavers once kept building, only old dams remain, now softened by time.
A serval stands almost perfectly still, its long legs hidden by grass that reaches nearly to its shoulders.
And listen. Seen from Goose Height, Holstein Friesian cattle rise like moving towers above the grass.
Where farmers leave thin strips of grass and wildflowers untouched, life concentrates along these margins.
When a hoof sinks into wet grass, it compresses soil, displaces insects, and makes room for water to collect.
Inside a termite mound, the majority of the work takes place in darkness and close confinement, while aardvarks break open the outer walls. In harsh years, the grassland fails to deliver its usual abundance.
Beneath the blades, grass roots form a dense mat that holds the meadow together like fabric. From above, the grasslands resemble a restless sea, each gust of wind sending waves of movement across a living surface of green. Ostrich chicks practice the sprint that will one day be their main defense, legs flailing in enthusiastic but uncoordinated bursts. High above the soil, but still deep within the grass,
Eurasian harvest mice build their nests between the stems.
Every pile of dung on the grassland is both waste and opportunity. Dung beetles demolish these deposits, rolling, burying, and breaking them apart.
For prairie dog pups, the first step out of the burrow is a leap into blinding light and open space.
Magpies scour the pasture for loose tufts of wool snagged on bushes and fence posts.
On a small prairie pond surrounded by grass, great white pelicans gather like drifting icebergs.
On an open woven savanna where grass runs unbroken to the horizon, a single acacia tree becomes a
Grasslands store a large share of their carbon below ground, in roots that reach deep into the soil, and in the bodies of organisms that feed on their decay.
In many grasslands, introduced species spread faster than native plants, forming dense patches.
Once widespread across the Eurasian steppe, Saiga antelopes now move in.
Beneath the grasses, a network of fungal threads links the roots of different plants, allowing them to share nutrients and water.
Around the hide camp patterns form faint rings, expand.
On African savannas, buffalo and giraffes share the same broad green and gold mosaic without competing directly.
Bison have been reintroduced to roam freely, breaking up the soil. Prairie dogs return to build new colonies, and wolves explore the edges.
Henri, over adult kind Pottsville Blackheart Svart Flatfullslutna spread birds still by each spring.
As evening falls, starlings gather in their thousands above the hayfields, their murmuration folding and flowing across the sky.
Hobby falcons slice through the air above the meadow, matching the speed and agility of the swallows they sometimes pursue.
Straight drainage ditches cut for agriculture now function as narrow wetlands, lined with reeds and grasses that host amphibians, insects, and birds.
On sloping ground, permanent strips of grass act as anchors that hold soil in place, slowing the downhill flow of water and sediment.
A cheetah cub follows its mother into low grass where small gazelles graze. The adult starts a half-hearted chase, giving her cub a moving target.
Short grass gives Thompson's gazelles clear views across the plain, reducing the chances of surprise.
At the edges of many cities, the last fragments of grassland lie pressed against new streets and houses.
The giant antietam crosses the open campo with.
On land once broken by plows, tallgrass prairie has been painstakingly rebuilt.
In community conservancies, local people manage grasslands for both wildlife and livestock, adjusting grazing.
At dawn, the grasslands announce themselves, not with a single voice.
Pastures that seem remote and timeless are, in reality, tightly bound to cities many kilometers away.
Every seed that leaves a grass stem carries a quiet possibility, borne by wind, water, or the feathers of migrating.
From the height of a human eye, the grass can feel as enclosing as a forest, each step parting the stems just enough to pass.
As the plough opens a fresh seam of earth, jackals appear at its edge, alert to the sudden exposure of grubs and small pit. In the brief Arctic summer, musk oxen graze on a carpet of sedges and dwarf grasses while their calves jizz. In their thousands, wildebeests carve temporary lines across freshly green savannas, their hooves pressing new.
In winter, the prairie seems still, its grass tipped with frost and its colors drained to silver. Elephants follow paths laid down generations before, their broad feet pressing fresh grass into temporary.
Across the Eurasian steppe, clouds paint slow, moving islands of shade onto an almost endless sheet of grass. By moonlight, the pasture shrinks to a tunnel of stems for a mouse, each step accompanied by the possibility of an unseen shadow above.
In wet meadows, sedges and grasses grow in dense mats that hide the nests of kingrails and marsh warblers just above the water.
Meerkat pups emerge cautiously into a world of green, testing the covering plants with their teeth and paws while adults watch from nearby mounds.
In many pastoral cultures, cattle are more than livestock. They are central to belief, economy, and identity.
By resting a damaged spring and guiding where animals drink, grass is given time to reclaim bare mud.
On steep slopes, too many hooves for too many seasons can strip grass from the soil, exposing roots and hastening erosion.
In some regions, only a handful of bustards remain where flocks once scattered at our approach.
As climate shifts, rains arrive at different times and in different amounts.
Oxpeckers move with surgical concentration over the hides of antelopes and buffalo, removing ticks from ears, necks, and flanks.
Over chalk downs washed in fresh green, skylarks fill the sky with an
Look at the spacing here. The cattle are clearly prioritizing safety on the left flank.
And the horses near the water are optimizing for grazing.
Marsh harriers skim just above the grass tops, feeling for changes in air pressure and watching for sudden spurts of movement below.
From a single blade of grass to continents of rolling plains, the grasslands carry on, season after season.
Pronghorn follow routes across the plains that predate fences, roads, and even the herds they travel in today.
Across every inhabited continent, vast bands of green stretch between forests and deserts, oceans and mountains.
Where buffalo wade through wet grass, rye, insects.
In some river valleys, rice paddies replace natural floodplain meadows, yet still attract familiar visitors.
As evening cools the air, badgers emerge from their underground set and begin to patrol the edge of the meadow.
Tall and purposeful, the secondary bird covers the savanna in long, deliberate strides, scanning the grass at its feet.
In a flush of fresh green after rain, springbok break into bouts of pronking, bouncing high into the air on straight legs.
Weeks after grassland fire has passed, the charred surface is replaced by a carpet of tender, nutrient-rich shoots that draw zebras and antelope. Beneath each termite mound, hidden cities move soil and nutrients from deep below to the surface, enriching the surroundings.
Ostrich chicks, no bigger than a household cat, pump tiny legs furiously to keep pace with parents that strive.
Bison herds have been reintroduced to graze and shape these recovering fields, and within a few decades, birds and insects respond.
Muscles coiled for release. When a gazelle strays a few strides too close, the cat explodes into motion, its entire being narrowed to a straight line of speed.
After hours spent circling and directing their flock, German shepherd herding dogs collapse into the narrow shade of a hedge.
Bee-eaters line up on grasses and low branches at the edge of a river meadow, each bird launching in turn to snatch bees and dragonflies from the air.
In many regions, once continuous grasslands are sliced into rectangles by plows and fences, wild plants replaced by single crops.
Over the flooded grasslands of the Llanos, macaws travel between roosts in noisy streams of color. Their
At the height of summer, a wildflower meadow becomes a kaleidoscope of color and movement, flowers piercing the
swim. A simple ramp in a livestock trough allows not only cattle, but springbok antelope, finchbird,
On the Deccan Plateau, the first monsoon storm.
As snow recedes from the high ridges, yak herds thread down narrow paths towards
On the Central Asian steppe, saiga antelopes sweep across the land in loose, restless bands.
Sensing lions in the tall grass and a storm on the horizon, buffalo pull into a tight circle, horns outwards.
A serval freezes in the fading light, ears swiveling independently to catch the faint scratchings of a vole beneath. In summer, reindeer assemble on the boundary between tundra and grass, grazing and resting while battling.
Saurus cranes, the tallest flying bird on Earth, move slowly through the flooded